Connie, maybe we could begin by asking you, what do you attribute to your long life and your marvellous health?
Well, I'll open up that to you when these are done. Or will I open it up to you?
You can.
Well, I'll tell you, I scarcely ever drank. And I didn't smoke. Because I tell you why, the reason for not smoking was, in olden times, when the cops would be there, they'd have snuff there at the bottom of the bed, and tobacco, and clay pipes. And every man that would come to the wake at night, they get a pipe and full of tobacco, and then the women would get snuff, and they go around like that during the whole course of the night at the wake. And that was one thing, didn't you see, that I didn't partake, you see. I didn't, even though the pipes and the smoke and everything was there, I never indulged in the pipe. But anyway, this is what happened then. When the corpse was gone the following day to the grave, do you see, the pipes were left over, and I attacked the pipe and I filled the pipe, and I smoked away, and I smoked the whole pipe. And I got very dry after smoking the pipe. I took a drink of water, and if I did, I began to vomit, and I was vomiting for a week.
And that cured you?
And I thought that I never again see the day that I walk
You
home.
didn't smoke then?
So that's Mr. Smoker.
Will you tell us how old are you, Connie?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll be 95 for the 1st of next April.
The 1st of April?
Yes, I'm 94. I'm in 94 at the present time, and I'll be 95 for the 1st day of April next.
Yeah.
That's only 3 months more.
So, Connie, if we take you back along that road, the earliest memories you have, can you ever remember maybe hearing maybe grandparents or old people talking about the famine, having heard?
Oh, of course, I heard it. I tell you, when I was even, let's say, about 8 or 9, you see, the famine, the talk of the famine was very fresh at that time by the people, you see. And so it is, the year before the famine, the potatoes were as plentiful as that they weren't able to consume them or use them, and they only piled them up against the fences, and more or less like a kind of abused the food. Well then, they were so plentiful that year is that others didn't, a majority of them didn't set them at all the following year, and those that set them, they were fairly good, and those that didn't set them, then they were looking for them, and they were only poking by night, like where any man that would have the garden, you see, they'd go and poke the stalk to see where they get the spud potatoes. So that's what happened in that part. It was in that case.
And people would have been almost completely dependent on the potato.
Oh, they were complete. You know, the potato was the principal food. And that potato was known as the white champion. And I have them white champions at the present day.
All the time.
The white champion. Oh, the white, it's called the white famine champion. There was such thing as Scotch blue champions. But these were the champion, or the variety that was in being during the famine, the time of the famine, and before the famine.
There wasn't much bacon available at the time.
Which?
There wasn't much bacon.
Oh, yes, bacon? I don't know what it was at all. I mean to say, they had only the ordinary food, like, you know, do you see? Milk and stirabout, you know, the Indian meal.
Right.
And, you know, they had no such a thing. I suppose they really, in reality, they didn't know what tea was.
What school would you have gone to, Connie?
Going out to Munifluigh school. Do you know what that plot is below there in the middle of the forestry?
Yes.
Just to that school, there was a school there. And the Munifluigh school, and just to that school I went. And Tom Manny's mother was my school teacher.
Would there have been many pupils in those days, Connie?
Well, there were about 50 pupils in that school. 50. So that's the way then, but it was, you know, I mean to say, was no surprise to get 7 or 8 slaps during the day.
Is that right? Yeah.
Oh, that was like a customary.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean to say, if we made any mistake or hadn't we listened properly and those things, there was a ruler there to put the half long by say, an inch, like in circumference. They tried like for finding out there, and no, they had big maps up to say the one. Anyway, we got there 4 slaps of that, and no surprise about it.
And maybe some at home as well.
Well, you see, there was, I happened myself to say, stop my hand like that when they'd be going to be slapped. And you know, I wanted to hit me up here and hold my hand down, hit me down there at the top of the finger, and would fingers would be blue coming home. You know, we get a fairly good hard tip.
Yeah, yeah. You'd feel it, Con?
Oh, well, you wouldn't feel it longer than what you would like. But anyway, that was the rule.
Yeah.
Well, of course, that was the rule of the school, and manners were well hammered into us.
And would parents have been very strict?
Well, they would. They would, but then any complaint that would be made, you see, the parents in reality wouldn't get scarcely any hearing. So the parish priest, you see, that was the store manager, and whatever he'd say or take into his head, you see, that should be fine.
No, yeah.
So that's the way.
Yeah. How did you spend your spare time when you got a few years older, when you left school? How would people of your age have spent their spare time?
Oh, yes, myself, I mean.
Well, people of your age group, what would you have done in your spare time
Ash, of course,
after school?
they took every sort of business like in hands, like it was a share of building and like ordinary farm worker, so forth like that. But there was me ever always. I could never get enough work day or night.
Yeah.
I couldn't stop idle. No matter what I be doing, of course I was a thatcher too. I mean to say, thatching, thatch houses, all thatch houses at the time. And I put up 4 bays of saw in a thatch house during the day. And my father did a lot of nursing and so there would be twigs going in the cabbage garden. And he'd bring out, during the day, he'd pick out 4 bunches of twigs, 18 in every bunch. And he'd have 6 bunches for me, he'd have 5 bunches for me then, and the standards and the frame for to put down the standards in it. And when I have my 4 bays up during the day, of course, short winter time, short days, I'd have to come down then, eat a supper, and go to work. And he'd have the 6 bunches there ready for me, and I'd go and put them into the frame, the 6 the standards, and get my 6 bunches, and I'd turn out to kick on, then from that until 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
But of course I had to be careful, to be inside in the kitchen, Yeah. But I'd be at work. But that way, but that was not a bad day's work.
It wasn't. You also worked as a builder, Connie, is that correct?
Well, I worked as a builder too. I knew all about building, and we had the contract of cottages, we had the contract of roads, we had the contract of actually everything. So, that's how it is with me. I had like a general knowledge of everything. Of course, I wasn't professional at anything, but that, of course, I had a fairly good idea of everything.
Yeah.
And
did you build houses locally?
actually, I wouldn't make any surprise of building. You see, for we put up 3 cottages, John Nails above us one, and there's another one up there by the wood, and there was another one up there by Paddy Connors there, he had it above there, Crowley's cottage. We put up 3 cottages, and then we had a contract from, when we had them done, we got into the contract of roads, and we should break so many ton of stones in every mile of a road with a hammer, sit down there and break them. And then there'd be...
Breaking stones was a hard work.
Well, you'd be sitting down to it, You'd be fairly comfortable, but of course you should be necky.
Yeah.
But they'd break about 4 ton in the day.
4 ton?
4 ton. They'd make a small pit for the road. There were all rough stones at him. But That's the
And
way.
did you work on roads near here, Connie?
Yeah, we had a.
Yeah.
We had a contract of the road from Balmore across to Mama across, from Christwater Wingy, and that way, and up to Paddy Mills. You know what I mean, Dan, too? And we had a contract of Castlowder Road from Castlowder Cross to Dandawise Cross, back to the cross in this side of the village. First cross to stay, leading on there to McDonald's. We we had a contract in of the road from Munifluigh Cross below here back to Kelleher Cross, and we had it in from. There was a by road over there where Johnny Cook is now, and that was up there Tinker's Hill and down to Milan's and down to Corcoran's Cross below. I should be going back to the church.
Did you have many working for you, Connie, or was it just...
Oh no, but we had no one working because you see we were four boys also.
Yeah.
You see, and then of course you see we kept together and worked together. So we were only simply like occupied.
Yes.
You see?
Have you memories, Connie, of the house dances?
Oh, you have.
Yeah.
Well, now, of course, you see them timber cags and Dandori too, of course.
Yes.
Porter,
yes.
A porter.
Yeah.
And well, now you'll buy that timber keg a half years for 14 and sixpence.
Yeah.
And we get a pint or a quart bottle of whiskey for 4 and sixpence. Because I bought it for about more over.
And these will be a big part of the house dance.
Well, then they would. Then of course they have house dances, and do you see it can be like about a shilling a piece, like for the men, and then the girls were free. So then they have house dances, and I see a lady one time. Of course, the concertina wasn't much in evidence at that time.
Yeah.
And I see, I know well, a woman playing a concertina, and wasn't she dancing a plain set at the same time, and she playing the concertina. And I thought, that's fairly good.
It was, yeah.
You know, it was active.
Yeah. These dances went on into the early hours of the morning, I believe.
What I would.
Yeah.
What I would, they would, you know, like daybreak. Well, you can be sure it'd be like an all night.
Yeah. And how often would you go to these dances?
Ah, well, of course, that'd be only occasionally.
Ah, yeah.
Occasionally, like here and there, like in different places.
Yeah. And in spite of all these dances, it was mostly all matchmaking at the time, was it?
Oh, it was. Well, no, as regard in the matchmaking,
Yeah.
matchmakers were as principal that time as, I don't know what would I compare them to, but they were matchmakers were an organisation in themselves for making matches. And into the curious thing, the two that were to be connected, they were scarcely or ever consulted.
Yeah.
And in most cases, they knew nothing until they were face to face when they were to be married.
Church.
It was both parties, do you see, and the matchmaker that had all to say, and it was like a contract.
Right, right. What would happen? What would happen, Connie, if at one of these house dances you fell for somebody and you decide this is the one you wanted to marry?
Oh, well, of course, I mean to say, like, you would have communication with your own young crowd that way at those house dances, but that had nothing to do with the matchmaking.
Yeah.
When it came to matchmaking, it was the two that was concerned, the two farmers or whatever they were concerned, and the matchmaker. And the matchmaker, he was well known as, he had a tongue at the end of a stick. Do you see? He had a walking stick, and he had a tongue at the end of it, and then you needn't dash was he matchmaker, rather than see the tongue, you could know that he was the matchmaker. But it was a trade. You'd like it so much out of a case.
Yeah. But generally speaking, these marriages worked out well?
Perfectly well.
Yeah.
I mean to say, in my time, I never heard of a division to occur in all in all my time. They were all what you could call genuine. Genuine. But you know, I mean to say, like, and then again, it is a curious thing that they indulged terribly in background in both sides. And if any item was in either side, it was sufficient to break the contract. But you know, they were more than particular. They built entirely upon the background of both sides.
And of course the dowry was a very important feature.
Of course it was, but of course, I mean to say, like, you know, of course, as you know yourself, money wasn't hardly there at all, really. It was only like a matter of contract and to line up and that's it.
If we move on to a different subject, you remember obviously the War of Independence, the time of the Trouble as you refer to it. At that time, would you think, would many of the people in this area, the ordinary people, have supported what was happening, or were they very interested or very involved? Or
yes, at that time.
did they support what the IRA were doing? Or
Oh yes, at the present time.
no, but we say going back to the War of Independence,
I know, well, of course.
1920, 1921.
Yes, I
Would the
know.
ordinary people have agreed with the War of Independence, agreed with what the IRA were doing?
I say, you know, I hate to say it is with them. They were as backward, you see, as that they weren't forward enough, you see, to indulge upon political circles at all. You know, I mean to say, they weren't it wasn't a topic and they weren't interested in it. More or less like it was in their own common ordinary business, you see, that they were interested, and they weren't in no such a thing as indulging in politicians.
They were more caught up in the day-to-day grind.
Yeah, the very thing, no, just
you.
using the business, and then when they go speaking to each other, when it is only like the conversation would be like, is the transactions of the day and the crops and the weather and that sort of thing.
We move to another topic.
Right on.
Have you any memories, or can you tell us something about pishogues?
Yes, pishogues.
Yeah. Can you tell us something about what they
Well,
were?
I'll tell you one item of a pishogue. There was in the barn, in the barn where cows used to be left out by night, and they'd be lying there in a special field. Well, there was a hound seen milking a cow in the barn. And the owner of the cattle, do you see, he see the hound, and then he followed the hound, and he went as far as the hound went in a window, and then he make a snap at the hound going in the window, and didn't he knock a snap out of him, and he bled, and the blood was in the window, and when he went into the house, and the woman inside in the house crying. And that is strange, that is it.
Strange.
I only heard that. That happened.
Yeah.
Well, then again, they had pishogues in such a way as, so of course, it was homemade making butter, you see.
Yeah.
Well then, the women, they were able to carry the butter. Suppose, you know, we were making butter here, and a woman could come in and she could carry what butter the right have, and when the butter making would be, she'd have double and surplus butter, and I wouldn't have no butter.
How was that done?
That was the eight episodes.
Yeah.
You know, they must have some power of carrying it. So they wouldn't have a surplus themselves only, but that they had some method of carrying it.
Yeah. What power do you think it was?
Oh, they wouldn't have anything good. So you know yourself that it wasn't, that it was some farm of the pishogues or whatever was at the back of it.
Yeah.
That they were able and capable of doing it. And
Was
then,
it a
I remember well one time, it happened ourselves over in Kelleher, and my mother, Lottie Mercy and all, she went to the priest about it, and she got mass said, and you know, didn't it take up to 6 months before the butter came back? You know, when we would make the butter, to be only all bubbles, and to never come to, like solid material at all. But it wasn't a funny game at all. You know what I mean to say? It was a working problem. Whatever was at the back of it, I don't know. But it was in being, definitely.
You have no doubt about that?
Oh, sure, one day witness of it. The witness. But of course I wasn't a witness of the home going in the window.
No.
But that was only heard.
Was it the power of Satan?
Well, he wasn't me too far away from it. I must be around somewhere.
Right.
Of course, as we all know, sure, it was beyond like what you could imagine. Right. It was something above ordinary. But that's the way.
Connie, I believe you know something about this Father Milan, who would have been in this area at one time.
Oh yeah, he was suspended.
Yeah. Could you tell us something about him?
I know every item about it.
Tell us a little anyway.
Every item.
Give us a broad outline.
Well, I tell you, it seems to me that it is owing to drink that he was suspended.
Yes.
And in the rules of the suspension by the authority, they were extremely hard. And they were referred to from the altar, do you see, that he shouldn't be hospitalized by nobody. I know that was hard. That was a bit of a hard rule. Well then...
Where was he a native of?
I'll tell you. Do you know behind there where Dan Murphy living in Danjo?
Yes.
Dan Murphy behind Dan Catherine? Yes, Kelleher.
Yes.
Well no, it was there that he was born and reared in that house.
How long ago?
I suppose it is about 100 years ago or more.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, he was suspended, and then of course, if he came into the house, you were supposed to notify the curate that he was in the house, and that the curate would come and remove him from the house, if in case he wasn't willing to go. Well, Dan P down here where the Henrys were living down there, of course they were near neighbours, you see, of where he was bred and born, and he made his own to come there. But anyway, he came there, and the man told him, well, he said, I was at Mass today, and this was part of the sermon. And what do you think of it? I'll tell you, he said. You go to the curate, he said, and tell him that I'm here. And he'll come, he said, a part of the ways, but he won't come all the way. Well, he went and he told the curate, and the curate came as far as Scarborough Cross, and the wind rose until the horse and cycle he had, and you know, he was the luckiest man in the world that he wasn't put in over the ditch himself, the horse and cycle now. He went back home and that finished that gate. That part of the proceedings. Well then, he was down here then, he was to come straightly down here, of course, to the near neighbour down to 10 P's, and the old man, he made very bold in him. And tell me now, he said, how would the same power now as what you had always? Well, he said, bring up a basin of milk to me, he said, and I'll show you. He brought up a basin of milk to him, and he turned the basin of milk into a basin of blood. And the man said to him, we'll put it back again. Not at all, no, he said. So that was that case in itself. Well, no, that's as correct as your their name here. You know, that happened, Amy. So...
Yeah. Did he have powers of healing?
Yes, sir. Father Milan.
Yes.
Well, no, there was a late rumour there that I have heard. He's buried in Kilcorny old graveyard. And there did people perform rounds there, and they were cured.
But while he lived, did he...
yes, what I mean to say,
to him?
While he was in the suspended era, or in the suspended time.
Yes.
Well, of course, he was from Coombe to Mill Street. He had like some little aunt in Mill Street, and he went to visit that aunt. And then he would come from Milsey to Macroom walking, of course.
Yeah.
And yeah, we had a book in the Zan.
Yeah.
But anyway, that he came to Macroom anyway, and he had another aunt there in Macroom below, where Dr. Laird, puts up there every Thursday, like regarding patients and that sort of thing. In that corner there, as you go into the Protestant church. But anyway, he had that aunt there, and he got the turn by night like that, and he told the lady of the house to go for the priest for him, do you see?
Mm-hmm.
But he was in contact with a young curate, and the young curate, he was very interested in him, and he used to back him a lot around the sling.
Yeah.
You see? He told her he better go for the young curate, and she went for the young curate, and he wasn't at all.
Yeah.
He was out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she came back and she told him, the young curate, she said, he's out and he won't be back for a while. He said, okay, he said. You go, he said, for the local curate and tell him. So she did, and when she went for the local curate, he refused to come. And she came back again to him and told him, do you see that he refused to come? It was okay, he said, it's all right. I will die tonight, he said. And he said, you can place the candles at my feet, he said, and if the candles will light, he said, I am saved, he said, and if they won't light, he said, I am damned. Well, he died anyway, he passed away, and they placed the candles, and the candles lit. That was the end of that then. Mm-hmm. Well, of course, when morning came and when the news went round, the curate couldn't forgive himself for not being inside to see if to come.
Yes.
And the local curate, he came in his second thought and he said, well, he said, he's okay. He said, but how am I to meet my God? Yeah. He like regretted for not coming. But of course, he was under the restrictions, of course. Mm-hmm. He would like between the frying pan and the fire.
Right, right.
But anyway, that's how that happened anyway. And that's the story now as regarding his career.
Good. Connie, one other question on Father Mullane. Have you any idea where he worked as a priest before he was suspended?
No, I have no idea as regarding where any of his curacy was. Mm-hmm. I have no idea.
His home place was in this area?
Yes, his home place was back there in Cappeen, where Dan Murphy is living now. Yeah. Today he was bed and bar. Mm-hmm. But as regarding where he worked, do you see I haven't got any idea.
I know, fair enough. We'll move on to another question, Connie. Maybe.
Okay, no your time. Don't forget him.
As we discussed.
I'll help out everywhere I can.
As we're discussing the topic of religion, do you think people's attitude towards God and towards religion has changed much since your young time?
They have done. They've gone back a lot.
Have they?
Oh, they. I would place it this way to you, that religion in itself is almost gone back. Take it all round like that it's gone back nearly by 1/3. I would put it that way. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And moreover the youth, you know, they're not interested, and I mean to say, lots of them of course are like what you could call devil may care, you see, and you know, this world more or less to make you fool.
God meant a lot to old people.
You can be sure that the old people came to God. Because why? The old people, they had strong religion, strong and determined. Even now when they'd go to Mass, they'd be a quarter of an hour before the time, and they'd have, some of them would have to travel 5 miles to go to the chapel, and they'd be there a quarter of an hour inside kneeling there, saying their prayers in the chapel a quarter of an hour before time.
What would you say, Connie, to people who would claim that many of those people went along to Mass on Sunday because everybody went, and if they didn't go, they'd be talked about? Was it more than that?
Well, of course, a little of that could be there, but that could be more of it there now than that.
Yes.
You see?
Yes. yes.
And that's the way I put that.
Very good.
Because I have to answer properly.
Yeah. God means a lot to you.
Yes, to me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course, he my particular friend. Of course, I'm not forgetting yourself.
Yeah.
To be bad right for me if I would.
Yeah. You have great faith.
Well, of course, do you see, we'll be gone through the world and see the ups and downs, see the results, see every whole thing, you see, and weigh them all up and everything like that. You'll come to the point that there's only the one point left. And that's the point. We have everything we want in this world, do you see, and we achieve to have more and more and more, and whatever we haven't enough. Well then, in many cases, you see, the Lord is not getting his due as regards it. For why? As we all know, whatever we have, just from the Lord we have it. And then we are not thanking him as much as what he deserves for giving us what we have. That's the way you look at that.
You're very grateful to God.
Oh God, don't forget him there, mate. And I could put visions to you. Only I don't like to get into.
Yeah. Do you ever think of death?
I'm not a bit afraid of it.
Haven't you?
Not a bit.
Yeah. Why?
Provided that you'll be around. You'll give me a hand, but anyway, that's
a long way off.
Well, we have a way to only when it will be only happening like every happening. So I won't be the first not the last that'll go. But well, I suppose it'll be hard for me to open up, but I don't like for it. Maybe so. They're gentlemen here, but you would give up for me and go on the religious line altogether. That's when I open up.
What do you expect will happen on the other side, Connie? What do you expect the other side will be like?
I know that it will be like as it is. I have a fairly good view of it. I was there right now, and of course it was a sort of a dream anyway. But I did see him on the other side. And they passed me on like that, in a row, and all women were there, and they were dressed in brown, with a white collar, like this, like it was not like white nor yellow. And they passed on the row, and they had backs to me. Well, just when they came from that side and passed like the wind, and I see, they went as quick as that I couldn't see him, but there was one woman, and she turned back, and she nodded at me. Do you see? And I put up my finger like that, and I knew her. She was Bridgie Patterson, the Connie Patterson.
If you could give one sentence of advice to any young person tonight, what would it be? Just one bit of advice to young people today, what would it be?
What do you mean, men or women?
Both. Both. Either. If you had one word of advice to give to young people now tonight, what would it be?
Well, the advice I give them is not to forget the end that is to come. And if we won't forget that, your mistakes will be light. But everything is implied in that, in the end and the time that is to come. And that will come. There's no going from that.
Words of
wisdom. That's what was around us there now. They were wealthy people. I know several people there. They were millionaires and everything like that. And the South is really, as much as they had, were like anxious to have more. Well, in all our conversation, doing everything like that, they'd never talk or refer to about the other side. And wasn't the other side more important to talk and dwell in it for a little bit of time than this world? Sure, this world is only a passing shadow.
Words of wisdom indeed.
You know the two gentlemen there would be very happy to go along with.
Yeah.
We hope that they what that they'll be doing, but however it was that we have no say.
Connie, it's been wonderful talking to you. Thank you very much, and
No,
we wish you many, many years of happiness
that'll be all right.
and contentment.
And
we'll come back.
At the present time, no question me on, because I have lots of more knowledge if I was only started up as regarding any item.
Have you any other interesting stories to tell us, though?
I am only, of course, that the racehorse, Burrow. He was a racehorse.
What was his name, Connie?
Burrow was his name. Danjo, you were telling him?
Burrow.
Burrow was his name.
Yeah. Tell us something about him.
He was bred down there in Reddy Welch's farm down there.
Yeah.
And he was to go over bones. And when he was going over bones, where he was going to, they had two hounds and they would left the two hounds at him, and the two hounds never overtook him. And when he jumped the bone ditch, he'd only turn around and look at the two hounds never went beyond the bone ditch. He'd only turn around and look at the two hounds and be joking. And that happened.
Did he win any important races?
Well, wait till I tell you when he started. Well, when he grew to be 2-year-old anyway, there were horse races from Carrigimna or from Jarbran Cross to Codram Cross, you know. And he was taken back to the race. And of course he hadn't a shoe or a stocking or bitten him. And taken, and he was rode down there. And he was first in the race. And he was up to Lean Tear against the first horse going down. And you all know where Lean Tear is. To the cross. As you go back to Clonderhood Gravy. That crossing there's a bad turn below it. And that turn is called Lean Tear in Aylesford.
Who owned this horse, Connie?
Well, he was belonging to the Welches.
Yeah.
Reddy Welch's ancestors.
Ah, yeah.
But anyway, that was the start anyway, and you see that he got noted. Well, then he was sold and bought. And he was sold and bought again. And he was sold and bought so many times as that the government bought him. And the government didn't take change hands against other governments, and didn't they paint him in the line of selling him. They painted for them. He was Burrow. He was a kind of foxy.
Yeah. Is this a long time ago?
Oh God, it is about 120 years ago when that happened. But anyway, there was a mule then, and the mule was the superior for running, you see. She had the credit of being the champion runner. And the two got into the race anyway. And they led on, and the mule led for a long time. And Burrow, then he came on up, and he was coming in closer all the time along. And in the finish, about the last 20 spades or that way of the race, didn't Burrow go out, and the mule didn't he screech. Of course the jockey that was on the mule, he overforced the mule, you see, but he didn't want to have Burrow win it. And he overforced the mule, and when Burrow went out sideways, didn't the mule screech and the mule fell dead. And just what the jockey said was, well, he said, he must be either Burrow or the devil out of it. So that finished that case.
Connie, was there any church in the area before the present church in Kelleher? Is that church there a long time?
Church there a long time, and I have no knowledge of that. Only I have a knowledge of the curate's house because we came to a lot like that. When it was built, we had to draw stones and sand and things like that.
You remember it being built?
Oh, yeah, I do. Fine. That's not an old building at all. But that's the way. Well, no, you'll go, I mean to say, you'll go a bit slow. I must spud up a bit.
Connie,
as regarding questioning.
Connie, we'll stop it there now, and we'll come back again for the 100th birthday party. We'll be back again to celebrate your 100th birthday with television, cameras and crew.
You'll be welcome with that. That's provided that I won't be on the road against you going to meet you.
Connie, thank you very much. It's wonderful talking to you.
Well, no, you continue on. Sure, I already like that you wrote up further.
Yeah.
As regarding items,
Yeah.
particular items.
Connie, I must take a rest for a while. I can't think of any more to say to you. We'll pause for a while. Thank you very much.
Very good, very good, very good. Thanks. Welcome. Okay, welcome day and night. Welcome drive. Dark, sunny, about welcome. I'm game for anything. Only for that I'm a little bit today. I feel the place. I will carry full forward here.
No, don't worry.
And if I was there, I tell you that he wouldn't get put a share of it.
Did you play football in your young days?
Oh, God, we did, and hard at that.
Yeah.
And you get in tumble from here over to the door and tap over it, and there'll be no more about it. There'll be no foul, only tumble after tumble, and give and take what you could and what you didn't get, you not be satisfied. Well, no. Don't have been so keen.